Hi, it's Penny here. Welcome to another reading vlog. This week, well, it's actually Thursday already, but let's pretend that's not happening. This week, I'm going to be reading books by New Zealand authors. I've got a bunch that just all found their way onto my TBR this month, so I thought I'd save them all for a single week. Can I get through them all? I don't know, but we're going to try. As I said, it's already Thursday, so we'll probably just accept that this vlog is going to go into next week too. This weekend as well was my birthday, which is going to take some time out of reading. Probably not that much though, because I don't think we're doing much for my birthday and I'm not that worried about it. Anyway, let me tell you a bit about the books that I'm reading. The one that I have already started is Sanctuary by Andi Buchanan. So they are a New Zealand author that I really love some stuff by. Most recently though, they did, what is that series called? The Windflower series, which is I think there's 4 books now, which is just like a cozy fantasy with these witches living in Wellington in New Zealand and having minor problems, mostly just figuring out what they're doing with their lives. I did really like the first book, and then the second one was just a little bit lacking in plot for me, and that's because those books are not focused on plot. They're focused on the cozy fantasy good time vibe. So if that's something you like, maybe you'll like that. This as well, I kind of feel like it's going to be the same thing. However, maybe it's because this is the first book. But I'm really enjoying it so far. I think I read 2 chapters last night before bed. So we are following this group of people who live in this old house. I'm actually not sure where this is set. Many of Andi Buchanan's previous works have either been set in fantastical worlds or in New Zealand. This though, I get the feeling it's not set in New Zealand, but it's not really clear. It still is giving me Wellington vibes, but not quite. Andi does live in Wellington, but there's this group of people and they're all kind of different in different ways. So neurodivergent, different abilities, different gender identities, just lots of really different people. And the beginning is just introducing you to how they coexist as this found family. And there's quite a lot of them, I think, about 11 of them all living in the same house. Also in the house though is a bunch of ghosts. So they've kind of set up their house to be a sanctuary for ghosts. And so far, there's been a lot of talk about how ghosts are people too, and they deserve respect and they still deserve to be treated like people. And I really like the parallels it's drawing between how the ghosts deserve to be treated like people and respected, and how neurodivergent and diverse different people also deserve to be treated like people. So this guy turned up and basically gave them a whole bunch of bottles which had ghosts in them. They feel very bad that these ghosts have been kept in bottles, but also they don't want to release them all too quickly and freak out their current ghosts, so they're releasing one a day. So that's where we got to at the end of the second chapter. It's kind of just slow slice of life with some ghosts, but I'm still really enjoying it. There have been a few sentences which are just a little bit clunky, and I sometimes get frustrated that Andi hasn't had more success and gotten the support of a full editing team, because I think they would have picked up on those things. But still, other than that, loving it. So, other New Zealand author things I'm going to read this week. I do have The Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill. So Kay O'Neill wrote and illustrated the Tea Dragon books, as well as Dewdrop and Aquicorn Cove, maybe some others. Oh, Princess Ever After. This is their latest book, The Moth Keeper. I think it's just about this young person learning to be a moth keeper and then finding something they struggle with. I've heard it's really beautiful, so I'm looking forward to reading that. As well, I have a couple. So this series by Lee Murray is not something I ever would have thought I would like, but it's kind of creature horror, but set in the forest or the bush of New Zealand. So the first book was called Into the Mist. The first book was called Into the Mist, and we had a bunch of different people kind of coming together in this forest as they encounter a taniwha, a dinosaur, something awful, but I was surprised how much I liked it. I came across the third book in physical form at a local book fair a while back, and as well I have the ebook of the second book, so I'm going to try and read the second book and the third book. I don't really know what they're about, but there is an army guy and this other girl who formed a relationship in the first book, and I assume they'll be in the next 2 books. But I think as well each one is set in a different part of New Zealand. I've got those. As well, I have the ebook of Genesis by Beckett, which I had forgotten was a New Zealand author. This, I don't really remember what it's about, other than it's a short science fiction story that G from Book Roast said was amazing quite a while back. I'm pretty sure it was G. I think it's something to do with AI. Anyway, I was very excited to read it when I remembered the synopsis. And I kind of want to go into it blind, not really remembering the synopsis anymore. But I think that's a pretty short ebook, so hopefully I can get through all of these. I mean, this one is mostly pictures, so this one should be easy. This one, I had to stop myself from getting too far into it last night, so I'm not worried about getting through that. These ones are maybe the hardest ones to get through. Like, that font is pretty little. But I think we can do it. I think we can do it. And it's getting quite late tonight already, so I will probably go to bed soon and read this and then let you know how it's going in the morning. Good morning. So, Jace is coming around momentarily, and I'm filming now, so I can avoid having to film in front of him, even though he's going to stay for like most of the week, I think. So I'm going to have to start getting over that. I don't know if I talked about it in this vlog, but basically my boyfriend's moving in with me, and we've been together a long time. It's not really an issue, but I just hate filming in front of people. So anyway, let me tell you about my birthday. So last night I went down to my family's house and we had like a pizza party and we watched Willow, which I haven't watched Willow in ages, but I absolutely love Willow. I'm going to link this into being like a New Zealand vlog because some of Willow was filmed in New Zealand, and like I think I know which bits. Like there were bits where I was like, is this in New Zealand? Anyway, as well, I got some bookish presents. Firstly, my sister got me this Yo-Yo So little collectible. So it's this little girl. She's reading with a book on a book. It's actually, the book's got these weird little butt marks for her to sit in. I don't know about books having butt marks in them. Oh no, my battery died, and then I actually filmed the rest of the update without pushing record. So well done, we're doing super great today. As well, keeping with the theme of this being a New Zealand book vlog, my sister got me this book, which is by a New Zealand author. It's some kind of Greek retelling. I think it's following like Odysseus and Menelaus when they're teenagers. I don't really know, but my sister said it was okay, and she's pre-read it, which I do appreciate because it means when I get to it, we'll be able to discuss it straight away. Definitely, if you're getting someone a book, pre-reading is the way to go. As well, she did get me these cute stickers. I've already opened them up and showed them to you when I wasn't recording, and I don't know if I have the motivation to do it again, but I really love those. And then as well, I wanted to update you on my reading. So I've been reading Sanctuary. I think I'm actually still only about a third of the way in, so I've only read a few more chapters since I last talked to you. For some reason, I haven't been getting enough sleep, which has led to me not getting much reading done. But one thing is, for my birthday, I'm getting a tropical storm. Super lucky, not what I wanted at all, to be honest, but it does mean maybe I'll get a decent amount of reading done if it's just going to be raining for like the next week. So hopefully I can make some more progress on this. It is starting to reveal a bit of a mystery with the ghosts acting a little bit strangely, but none of our characters are really focusing on that mystery yet. They're still very focused on just like slice of life and talking about acceptance of different people and how they all get together. So I'm hoping things will get more into the mystery yet and the characters will be focused on solving the mystery, but I guess we will see. Hello, so this is my first time filming with someone else in the house, and I know he can't really hear me because anytime we try to talk to each other in the other room, we can't even hear each other, but still, it feels kind of awful. Like I feel like I'm wearing red. I hate filming with other people around, but I'll get used to it. I know I'll get used to it. So let me catch you up on my reading. Firstly, I finished off reading Sanctuary. I have to say, like, I have mixed feelings about this. There were parts that I really loved, and I loved the way that it was contrasting like the neurodivergence experience with ghosts and like the need for neurodivergent people to have respect for the way they need to live their lives and the way that ghosts have to live their lives. Like I love that, and I wish that when it continued to have all these little side tangents about how they're dealing with their different experiences, I wish they had kept connecting that to the ghosts, but it kind of didn't. Also right near the end there's like this big battle scene, kind of, but like no actions are ever described. It just keeps saying that they're fighting. And it seemed like they were fighting for days, but we never got any explanation of like what are they actually doing? So in the end, I feel like the ghost mystery part was somewhat dissatisfying, and I almost wish that it had just focused on being like a found family story and not worried about all the ghost stuff. But it's the ghost stuff that's so brilliant. So maybe I didn't need the ghost murder mystery. I needed some kind of other ghost mystery that could have linked in more to the themes. Although the ghost mystery was linked to the themes, I don't know. As I said before, I just wish that Andi would get a lot more support with their writing, because I feel like they have so much potential. And the story, like, I feel like so many people would love this story and benefit from reading it. Like, this is probably like a found family that a lot of neurodivergent people would enjoy being a part of. But also, like, I wanted more from this than we actually got. So, like, not one of my favorites by Andi, but I love the concept. I love it. The other thing I have been reading is I started reading the ebook of Genesis by Beckett. I think I'm about a third of the way through. All that's happened so far is basically we're following along with this person. So they're participating in this exam, and it seems like the exam is kind of like a history exam of their world. So while we're getting their experience in this very strange exam, it's like a 5-hour exam where the examiners ask them unexpected questions. But at the same time, we're also getting kind of the history of the world. And it seems like there was some kind of apocalyptic event. The Northern Hemisphere, at least, has like had war and plagues and having a really awful time. But these people are living in the Southern Hemisphere, specifically in New Zealand, where they built like some kind of seawall that keeps everyone else out and keeps them safe from the plague. My experience as a New Zealander, like, my question is, where did we get the funding for this seawall? But sure. It definitely is interesting to think about, like, if there was an apocalyptic event and we wanted to wall ourselves off, like, could we really do it? And if we did, what would it be like? But also, it seems like the historical figure that their exam is based on is somebody who went against all the rules. So, I'm really enjoying the way it's written. Like, everything is so unknown and you're discovering this history, even though all the characters know it already. So I'm going to try and finish that off in the next day or so. I'm also going to try and pick up Moth Keeper. I kind of decided that I'm not going to try and finish everything. Like, I've accepted that I'm behind on my reading, so I remade my plan. So we've got a bit more time to get through all these New Zealand books. I don't know if there's anything else really to update you on. The rain that we were supposed to be eating for my birthday. Honestly, such a disappointing present because I barely even got any rain. But it is still kind of crappy and grey. So I think we'll still have a pretty reading heavy week.
Pick it up from the top, hit restart. So far it's been so hard to live, but lately something in me changed.
Hello, so as you can see by my open door, I'm by myself today, and honestly, I have to tell you how, like, after I filmed, I went to ask him if he could hear me, and he was like, have you started yet? Because he couldn't even hear anything. Like, I'm just, like, it doesn't even matter if he can hear me. I don't know why I'm stressed. I just hate filming in front of people. I just hate it, but I think I can get used to it. Anyway, I wanted to update you again on my reading. So firstly, I finished Genesis. And I don't really know how I feel about it. There were a lot of really interesting ideas in it. But I did see kind of there's a twist at the end, which for the most part was what I thought was going on. But also, like, I still feel like there's a lot of open questions. So I feel like you're meant to be like, wow, that twist, and then not ask the rest of the questions. But because I already guessed the twist, I was like, yeah, but what is all the other stuff? Like, what? This world, it's so interesting, but we only get a little taste of it. Also, like, the story, though, isn't really about the story or about the world or, like, the wars or the pandemics or, like, any of that. It's really about artificial intelligence and what it would take to make an AI, like, a real something. Like, is it consciousness? What even is that? Like, it's just asked a lot of questions about AI, and for that reason, though, I feel like the story will stick with me, because, like, a question of when does AI become a person, or when is AI actually really thinking, that's a question that's probably going to become more and more relevant, right? So there was definitely a lot of really interesting ideas in there. But for the actual story, I wanted more from it. But it's not really a plot story, it's a idea story, which doesn't necessarily make it less. No. And as I said, I think it's going to stick with me, so I do recommend it. I almost wish I hadn't guessed the twist, because I feel like if you didn't guess it, it would probably blow your mind. Anyway, the other thing I did pick up was The Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill. So this one, I felt very similarly to how I feel about a lot of Kay O'Neill stuff, and I think that's because they're really targeting their books at a much younger audience. So for me, I still felt like this was a bit simple, especially like it's so many pages, but so many pages don't really progress the story, and it's super cute, but like actually in this one, I think there are like a few scenes that I thought were beautiful, but otherwise a lot of it, I'm not really sure what the pictures were adding, and there were parts where there were a whole bunch of pictures in a row and I felt like I couldn't figure out what the story was, or it wasn't obvious at least. So then that makes me question, like, what would a child's experience with this be like? Also, I would say the main theme of this is really about loneliness. And as an extreme introvert, loneliness is not something I struggle with, and maybe that's the wrong thing to say, because introverts can be lonely, but like for me, I can spend a lot of time by myself and be quite happy, so it's not really a relatable story for me. But probably if I thought about it more, there are other themes going on. Like maybe I could learn the lesson that sometimes I need to ask for help and not always be so independent. Like, I don't think this was a bad book. I think it was quite lovely. I just don't think it was anything amazing. Maybe that's my fault for expecting it to be amazing when, like, does it promise that? Not really. It just promises to be cute. And was it? Yes. And it's quite a lovely story. Just, I think for this many pages, I would have expected the story to be a bit more clearly expressed compared to what it was. But I do like this. Like, if you've liked Kay O'Neill's other stuff, I think you'll enjoy this. Just, I wanted more from it. That's my fault. Other than that, I am going to start the second book. This is the third book, but the second book later today probably. As well, I needed an audiobook, so I have picked up one of J.P. Pomare's audiobooks. It's called Into the Clearing. I've listened to a very small amount at the beginning. It's kind of like two point of views. One is a person, a young girl, I think, who's part of a cult, and she's involved in the kidnapping of another girl who's going to be her sister, and she's very excited about getting this new sister. And we're also following this other woman, and I'm not sure either she's been part of a cult or her son's been kidnapped by a cult in the past or something. Some connection to a cult is definitely going on, and I assume these two storylines will at some point connect up. I've liked quite a few of J.P. Pomare's thrillers in the past. He's a New Zealand author living in Melbourne, Australia now. So I'm hoping they'll like this one too. And I think this is the first time where I went in expecting the Australian narrator, so it hasn't, like, broken my brain this time. But anyway, it's a really grey, yuck day today, so I'm just gonna film my wrap-up, which I should have done already, and then probably just edit and read and muck around for the rest of the day, because what else do you do when it's horrible and rainy? So I thought I would brave the rain to take some more of the stuff I've decluttered to the charity shop. Also, I have some library books that are overdue by like a week, and even though we don't have fines anymore, I thought I might take those back. But now it's raining so much I don't want to leave the car, so that's not ideal. But while I wait and hope the rain will stop, let me update you on my reading. So I'm about 25% through both the books that I'm reading. I'm really loving Into the Sounds. It starts out with these poachers down in the South Island of New Zealand. So, geography lesson. The South Island of New Zealand has like the Southern Alps kind of basically all the way down the middle going to the side. And then down in the bottom southwest, we have the Southern Alps and also Fiordland, like a big national park, and Milford Sound. And it's just like very beautiful. Like I think a lot of beautiful New Zealand photos that you see will be from around there, like just lots of water and big mountains. I haven't actually been there,
but it's definitely on my list of a place that I would like to go at some point. But just in general, part of what I like about these books is getting this New Zealand feel, as well as like these New Zealand locations. Even if they're not places I've been, they still feel local to me. Whereas of course, mostly when I read books from the UK or the US, like, I don't know where any of these places are. Maybe I kind of know, but not to the same degree that I know where New Zealand places are. And as well in this, like, there's bits of Maori mythology and some of the characters are Maori, as well as just all the characters feel very New Zealand, which I just, as soon as I picked up this book again, I was like, oh, I love this. It is very like kind of gritty and real, while also incorporating somewhat fantastical elements. So the very beginning is these poachers that have come to Fiordland, and they are basically hunting stags because there's an overpopulation, but also they just want to make a lot of money from getting them. But their helicopter ends up crashing, everything goes horribly wrong, and one of them gets taken away by these people. And the description made me think like they're kind of like the Maori Fae, and I never remember the word for it, but the book did say they're also known as Turehu, which I think I can remember. So basically like fair-skinned, blonde-haired people that the Maori talk about having encountered early on. These ones in this book seem like they're going to be somewhat water-based, like maybe like merfolk. So right at the beginning, one of these guys gets taken by these people, not sure. And there's also like this giant squid. So that's going to be the creature horror element, I guess. So that was kind of set back in the 70s. And now we've jumped back to present time. And we've got kind of the main guy as well as his girlfriend. Well, his girlfriend has a job with the Department of Conservation. So she's had to go to this area to see how they're dealing with culling the stag down to a reasonable population so that they don't harm the native species. So they're there. There's also these other people that were trying to steal some care. So care are these very smart parrots that live down in that part of the country. And like, I was so mad to be reading about these characters hurting them. But those guys are having a bad time. And there's also a couple of other characters. I really thought it was just going to be the main guy that the series is named after, kind of continuing through. And of course, maybe his girlfriend. But we also have some of the other characters. And I kind of wish that it hadn't been so long since I read the first book in the series, because I've forgotten a little bit about them. But even though the other characters aren't in the bush yet, they're somewhat aware that something's not right. So I'm really enjoying this. I will say there's some bits where the descriptions are quite gross. It's such a great mix of like realism with fantasy, and like I'm loving this book, and I never expect to like these for some reason, because military creature horror doesn't sound like something I'd like, but I just really like these. Anyway, the other thing that I've been reading is In the Clearing. Is that what it's called? Yes. So I really still don't know what's going on with this one. We have this woman, and she's very anxious about things. It seems like in the past, her husband told some lies, and that led to her son being taken away from her. But it also seems like she did make some mistakes. But now she's very worried about her younger son, also being taken away. And it seems like those worries might not be unfounded, because over at the cult, there is talk about, oh, we're going to find another brother for you guys. But I think for this one, I'm not quite as engaged yet, because I still don't really understand what's going on. But I kind of also don't expect to know what's going on for a little while yet. So we will see. I don't think the rain has stopped at all, but I can't sit in my car forever, so I guess I'm just going to go and get wet. Hello, so I have done pretty much nothing all weekend, basically that time of the month, and so I just feel like crap. I did manage to do some reading, but not as much as I would have liked. So I finished off Into the Sounds, and I really loved it. As I was saying before, like there's bits where there's so much tension, and like then things will happen to certain characters, and like Lee Murray is not afraid of like killing characters off, or just having like really like things happen to them, and she just describes it, and I'm like, oh that's awful. Why? Oh, it's great. To be reading something and have it make you feel that much. And like I'm always with these books so surprised how much I enjoy them, because I don't think these kind of books are the kind of books that I like. And I don't even know what genre to call this, because I wouldn't say it's really horror. Like there is a creature But like a lot of what's going on isn't because of the creature in this one. There's also like these people who are trying initially to steal the care, and then when they discover these ture who are around, they start trying to kidnap them. And like it's kind of just a bunch of bush warfare, which like doesn't sound like something I would like, but I really enjoy these books. What I have been thinking though is because I'm so tired and it's the end of the week and I've been behind on my reading plans for ages, and instead of just feeling stressed about being behind on my reading plans, I'm gonna change my reading plans. So I think I really want to just go into this. I really want to just go straight into this and like keep having these like movie adaptation imaginings in my head. Like I really feel like this series would make an amazing movie series, like an action movie, but it's got like cool Maori mythology aspects in there. And actually I don't even know, did I ever describe properly what the plot for this was? This is upside down. I think I kind of did. I don't know. I mean, basically, the story for both the first book and the second book in this, and I guess probably the third one, is that some shit happens causing a bunch of civilians and also these military people to end up in the bush, in the wilderness of New Zealand, and there's a creature, but there's also a bunch of criminals that get what they deserve. Although I will say, I was kind of on the side of the creature in this one, and I was a bit sad about the ending. There's also another thing that happens right at the end of this that I was thinking to myself, in the movie adaptation, you can't end the movie like that. Like in the book, I'm like, okay, maybe book 3 will fix that. But you can't end a movie like that. People will be so mad. Anyway, that's another reason why I do really want to just go straight into this. But like, I also feel like just going from one to another will mean this one won't have as much impact. So what I think I'm going to do, I also have these 2 other New Zealand books on my May TBR, and I think I'm going to put all 3 of these books together and try and read them sometime in a single week in a reading vlog at the end of the month, or maybe the start of next month. Like, we're behind, so like if it's next month, it's actually fine. Because actually next week I really need to read some of my library books, because I have been returning my library books way too late. And it's just because like all these new releases came in at the start of the year, and once I get past this period, everything will be fine. Why am I so behind on everything? I'm probably not even. I just feel like I am, because I feel like crap today. And the last couple of days, really. Anyway, oh, I do actually have another book to update you on. So I finished listening to the audiobook of In the Clearing by JP Pomare, and this one I didn't like as much as the two other thrillers by him that I've read. I do think it had some really great twists, which is what he's really good at, is putting some really great twists at the end. Kind of took a twist that I've read before and then put an extra twist on it. So it was a bit sad though, because then I was thinking, oh, this is just the twist that I already know. And so for a bit of it, I was like, you know. And then as well, I think it's hard to write a thriller based on a cult, because there's so many expectations of what a cult thriller should bring. And I think as well, JP Pomare always writes like these really unlikable main characters. But I feel like for me to care about what was happening at the end, and like to really feel the impact of the twists at the end, I needed to care more about the character, and I just didn't. But I still did think it was quite a good thriller. It wasn't quite as mind-blowing at the end as I thought it might be, or as I wanted it to be. Anyway, honestly, I had a nap this afternoon, and I feel like it's made me even more tired. So I'm probably just going to go and like laze around for a bit. But anyway, this will be the end of the vlog. Let me know if you've read any of these New Zealand authors or any of these books. I expect the one most people would have heard of would be Moth. A lot of the other ones are self-published or like done through like small publishing houses. Do we have any other kind of publisher in New Zealand? Not really. Although JP Pomare is Melbourne now, so maybe. Anyway, let me know how you're going. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.